This is Alan Olson, and welcome to American Dreams. My guest today is Mark LaChance. Mark, welcome to today's show.
Alan, thank you for having me.
So, Mark, for the listeners, you got a good, solid background in the entrepreneurial world. Can you review that with us? Starting, let's say, after college, what led you from where you came out of school to where you are today?
Sure. So I graduated college in 1992, way back then, Alan. And when I came out of school, it was a recession, and I had a choice either to go work for Staples at about $22,000 a year, uh, or State Street Bank at about $23,000 a year. So I didn't opt for either one of those, and I said I'm going to go back and work for my father in construction. And he paid me a heck of a lot more than that. But it was, I'll have to say, it was torture. I was out in the freezing cold or in the blazing hot sun. So that has become my why, to never have to be on top of that, blazing roof in the summertime. So that was what I did right after school. But also coupled with that, my brother was a top draft pick in the National Hockey League. He was drafted fourth overall by the New York Islanders, and he also was one of the top recruits at college. So he went to Boston University and also played in the 1992 Olympics. So from there, I got a pretty good taste of what it would be to work in the professional sports world. And I met a ton of agents, and I moonlighted, whatever the proper language is there, as a sports agent, and eventually became full time. So from about 92 to 1999, I was actually a sports agent. I had, at the height of my practice, 7 guys in the NHL, 35 in the minors, that were working their way up to the bigs, and that was actually a lot of fun, a lot of great travel. But I quickly learned, Alan, I think you learned this long ago, that recurring revenue is an amazing thing, and I lost 2 of my top clients, and 30% of my revenue went out the window. And I had a friend that was in the payment space, and he was making recurring revenue at that time, it was about $30,000 a month, recurring, which was huge in at the late 90s. And so he was in the payment space, like PayPal today, or Stripe, or any of those companies. And he kind of taught me the business. So I jumped in, left the sports world. Although it was a lot of fun, I didn't enjoy, losing my clients and losing 30% of my revenue. So I got in there, and I actually had, since I got into the payment space, I had 4 successful exits, and then kind of rolled into digital marketing over the last 5 years. And Alan, over the last couple calls that we've had with our group, that we're heavy into TikTok, and so I've had great success in digital marketing, and one mega epic failure in real estate back in 2007, 2008. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, where I've been over the last 20 or 30 years.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal path, and it looks like you're sticking to digital marketing right now.
Well, right now, yeah, it's working out pretty well. We've grown a company from 2 employees to over 300 right now, and we're going to hit close to $80 million in revenue this year. So we're pretty excited at the growth.
Excellent. What does blitz scaling a company mean, and how do you do it?
Well, there was a book written called Blitz Scaling by Reid Hoffman. I think you probably know him, Alan. He's right around the corner from you in California.
Yes.
It's got different, I have a different definition than what the book talks about. The book talks about blitzscaling companies with mega investments, so PE money, or hedge fund cash, and basically, spending money as fast as you can, as intelligent as you can. But my definition is a little bit different. So we bootstrapped this company, and we took every single dime of profit and rolled it back into revenue generation. So every single dime of profit, we put it into, we'll call it sales, business development, marketing, and media buying, right? So because my definition of growing a company is growing the top line first, and then backfilling everything else out. So, figuring out how to make money, I think, is probably the hardest part. And, that's what we focused on. And, again, like I said, from 2 employees to over 300, and from 0 revenue in 5 years to over 75 million this year. I'd call that blitz scaling. But again, the definition is rolling all of your cash back into revenue producing activities. That's basically, in a nutshell, the definition.
What happened to the traditional media marketing with print, TV, radio? versus social media?
I mean, you hear Gary Vaynerchuk talk about this a lot, but if you're spending for a magazine ad or for a newspaper ad or for a television ad ridiculous amounts of money. It's called your CPM, or your cost per thousand views, is through the roof on those traditional advertisers. Whereas in social, it's a heck of a lot cheaper, and that's where the eyeballs are, right? The eyeballs were on Facebook, now more so on Instagram and TikTok, and that's where you want to spend your money. At least that's where we've focused our media spend. About 65% of our media spend is on TikTok right now. That's where the eyeballs are. There's over 100 million people in the United States that are on the platform, and it's an area of and a lot of people have a misconception that it's only, let's say, Gen Z or early or younger millennial, but it's not. It's actually every day it's trending higher and higher, the demographic. So I would highly recommend, if your viewers, if your listeners are have businesses, which they probably do, that they have to look at social as a form of advertising.
Now, what's the difference between marketing on TikTok versus Facebook?
Different demographics, so your creatives and your messaging has to be a lot different. TikTok is a lot bite-sized information, so you have to get a message out in 7 to 15 seconds, right? Whereas on Facebook, you're still selling a lot through images and through text and through creative creative writing, whereas on TikTok it's creative in the video sense, in the creative itself. So it is a big difference. The messaging is different, the delivery is different, the I'll call it the character, the salesperson in the ad is different. And so we had to figure out TikTok. Because if you want that story, I can give you that story. How we stumbled upon TikTok a couple of years ago is interesting. So if you want that, Alan, I can give that to you.
Well, I always loved stories there.
All right.
How did that happen? So,
Well, Facebook, up until I'm going to say 6 months ago, was a very, very difficult, entity or animal or beast to work with. And you hear the horror stories where they'll shut off your account for no reason, or they'll shut you down for no reason, blah blah blah, or they'll hold your your ad campaigns or whatever. So we 2.5 years ago, yep, exactly 2.5 years ago, Facebook literally shut us off. So we had 100% of our revenue running through Facebook, and they decided in their infinite wisdom to forego about, I think it was about $2 million a month we were spending on the platform. I guess they didn't like that kind of money for whatever reason, and they shut us off, which forced us to go out and find another partner. And luckily at that time, TikTok was in its beta stage. So we were the 10th company in Canada to actually be on the platform. And so we had zero revenue coming in. We were forced to really figure the platform out and master it. And we did quickly. We hired, the strategy was to hire, on Facebook, you have a media buyer who's also the ad creator. But on TikTok, we found out that the media buyer is definitely also not the ad creator. So that forced us to learn how to buy on the platform and advertise on the platform, which is, we had to develop a pretty big network of creators, which are, younger folks that know how to edit videos quick. And I'm not one of those, Alan, just so you know. But yeah, we were forced into it, and Facebook actually did us a huge favor. And now we're actually spending a ton on Facebook as well, more than we were back then. So, sometimes negatives turn into positives, right?
what's the biggest lesson that you learned running your own business?
This is something you're familiar with, but it's who, not how, for sure. I mean, I've got a story on actually, how I learned that. So it was 2010. And I just launched my company right after my near death financial experience back in 2008. I got back in, I was in real estate, and I got totally hammered in the real estate deal, and then had to get back into what I knew best, which is payments. So I launched the company in 2009 with the help of investors, and right out of the gate, we were really successful. So we went from, one employee, myself, to over 215 employees within a year and a half. But I found myself sitting at my desk, looking at my computer with, maybe 1,000 emails that were unopened. And I literally wanted to throw my computer out the window and quit. I didn't know how to run a company at that time. While I had 215 employees, you might think I was successful. I wasn't at all. And so I had to learn how to run a business. So I found a business mentor. I went to a conference called, Business Mastery, which then led me to Strategic Coach, which then taught me that, look, you can't do everything yourself to build an empire. You have to bring in the who's that know what they're doing, right? You have to let go of your ego, and you don't need to be the smartest person in the room. Because, look, I found that, or I do find that entrepreneurs, and I call it the entrepreneur's dilemma, where entrepreneurs feel like they need to be the smartest and the best, which is a total misnomer. It's actually wrong to feel that way and to think that way. So you need to build a big business, Alan. You know this, and we're at the same school of business right now, and you have to bring in people that are smarter than you, and don't worry about it. And let them run the show, let them make the mistakes, and let them be successful. And you sit back and coach them when they need to be coached, reprimand if so. And if you have the right people, you never have to reprimand. At least that's what I've found out. And so over the years, I've learned that by bringing in the right people, stepping aside is the way to build an empire. And it's worked out quite well over the last few years.
Tell us about your best-selling book, The Lucky Formula.
The Lucky Formula: How to Stack the Odds in Your Favor and Cash In on Success. So, and why, you might be asking, why do I call it Lucky Formula? Because my last name, LaChance or LaChance, actually means luck. So that qualifies me, Alan, to write a book about luck because my name says it. So, but it's a book about how you can stack the odds in your favor, how you can how to stack the odds in your favor. And luck is not a fluke; it's a formula. So it is success is an actual formula. So stacking things on top of each other, like for example, when you wake up in the morning, what story do you tell yourself? Are you telling yourself a story about success, or are you a victim? Are you what's your narrative? Are you eating well? Is your energy level up? What are the book breaks down the 20 aspects of internal and external mastery, and it teaches you exactly what I did wrong in the past and what I'm doing right now to become very, very successful.
Has your business been impacted since the pandemic?
I would say impacted positively, because we had an office in Montreal, and we were all in the office. So basically we launched the company in 2018, and I was always a proponent of, you have to be in the office. You have to be in the office. And then when the pandemic hit, I thought it was going to be disastrous, but it actually turned out the other way, because you can get talent from around the world. And, it turns out that more than 50% of our team is from the Philippines, phenomenal workers, amazing people. And so I would say we were impacted positively from the pandemic.
Now, how did you end up in the Philippines?
It was funny because my brother has a virtual assistant company in the Philippines, and I didn't want to. At first, I was like, we don't need VAs, and then all of a sudden, I found that when we were remote, it's like, wow, let's try my brother's company out. So we now have, I want to say, about 75 of his employees that are now our VAs, which worked out pretty well. I have a brother that actually has a company there. So.
Oh, fun times. Hey, Marco, I appreciate you being with us today. If someone wants to reach out to you about a TikTok campaign or using your services, how would they go about it?
They can find me on Instagram at Mr. Lucky Official. So it's MISTER Lucky Official. And Alan, if I can give your viewers a gift, that'd be awesome. Can I do that?
Absolutely.
All right. So I'd like to give you the gift of the Lucky Quiz, or the Lucky Assessment. It basically scores your ability to catch luck on a scale of 0 to 100. And you can get that at theluckyformula.com/quiz. Again, theluckyformula.com/quiz. And it'll score your luck capabilities, and it will also give you tips and tricks on how to get luckier in life and successful in life. So there you have it.
Mark, thanks for being on today's show.
Alan, thank you very much.